Good evening all, this is Kosala, also known as Marventus, giving you another tutorial shoutcast from my own first-person perspective, in other words from my own games, here in the Bronze League. Now this was a terrific game that I played very late last night, it was a half past midnight, because I couldn't be bothered to sleep and had to come down and do some gaming. And this just turned out to be a wonderful, wonderful game. Now, I've mentioned it before in my previous casts, if you've been paying attention to those, the importance of adapting when you're a zerg. Not to ever do too much or too little, but to always adapt. So here's my first salvo. Now the opening was fairly standard. I opened in the top right-hand corner as the red zerg. My opponent in the bottom left corner as the teal Protoss is Mr. Unix. Now I came in to take a poke around with my zerglings, and to my utter surprise there was a gap there. Right, so I just zoomed right past in, and Unix completely panicked because he thought he'd completely walled off. But I managed to squeeze myself in and cause some initial mineral harassment, which was incredibly useful here. Right, so here I am messing up his mineral line, and so far he's got a fairly, decent opening. He's got one assimilator, or both the simulators, accumulating gas, has a gateway, has a cybernetics core, so I assume warp technology is on the way, has a forge, so stalkers are coming out. And in the meantime, he's chrono boosting the crap out of a couple of probes, as indeed he should be. Now, I've managed to take away about 4 or 5 of his probes, so some initial harassment, some initial mineral harassment happening successfully. In the meantime, I've moved out a overlord to oversee my second expansion point, and I've gotten zerglings at the Zelnaga towers, as I always do. Now, getting my second gas as well here now, my spawning pool of course up, my queen is out, and a couple of zerglings have been popped out. The first 100 gas, as always, went to metabolic boost, which is researching right now. The second 100 gas goes to improving my hatchery into a lair. Pretty much standard opener for me. Now, what I noticed when I poked around in the Protoss base was that things were pretty much cool. He was not doing any kind of fast rush, he was not amassing zealots. I had some time here, so I had to sit down and think about what am I going to do at this point. So, to start with, out popped the Roachborn. Fairly standard, because roaches make good counter opponents to early game pretty much anything. So I decided to toss out a few roaches, improve on my creep spread, and just continue with my... Right now I've got a couple of zealots coming in and taking away my zergling, another one heading over here, and taking away that zergling, so I just lost my Zelnaga towers. So what do I do to respond to this? I send out a few more zerglings and take out that zealot. Right, I leave one there, and then send the next group out here to, actually didn't leave one there, to take out that zealot. Controlling the Zelnaga towers is exceedingly important for me, because I'm generally very, very late to react. I need to know exactly what's going on before I do anything, and I don't amass a huge amount of armies. I'll show you why in just a second. It comes in extremely useful, even though it is a... Now here I go over there to nuke an expansion, which I think may exist, and in the meantime Void Rays come and take down my Overlord. Now this is the first time I'm seeing this happen. If you take a look at my base, I've got absolutely no anti-air units whatsoever. I've got one queen. So this is when I start to react. Down goes a Spore Crawler on the left, down goes one on the right, and my queen is taking its initial salvo at it. Let's get my production tab up now. I've got 2 Spore Crawlers coming out. I'm upgrading my roaches. I did that before they started moving out. And when I look at this, I see there's absolutely nothing I can do here to save this situation. I must rely on the 3 Spore Crawlers I've put down. So while that's going on, there's no reason for me to monitor anything going on here. Right, so my Spore Crawlers are on their way up. I've got 3 Void Rays to take down. One of my Spore Crawlers dying there, but in the meantime I decide to leave the base to its own situation and take my roaches and go do my harassment down at his base. So 1 Stalker down there, second one going down any moment now, third one going down to focus fire, 4 Stalkers down. I take out this zealot as well. I'm going in with 1 row and a bit of roaches. I take down this pylon. Now he didn't have a backup pylon to cover this lot, so by taking down that pylon I actually completely screwed up his production. Because actually he had nothing going on there. Where did I screw up his production? Oh yes, the gate, the Stargate, because I took down this pylon as well. So at this point I'm sacrificing my roaches in an all-in rush to take down these pylons to stop any more of my production happening on the Stargate, which actually works. So for some reason he's putting down a photon cannon there while it has absolutely nothing to power it. That's quite odd. Right, yeah. did this go down as well? Oh no, the heroic pylon survives. It survives. But my major win at the time was to make sure that that Stargate stopped producing those void rays to buy me the time I needed to react to it. So here I was in this situation, I'm thinking, oh shit. Right, my drone count is down to 5. I've got my gas well in hand, my minerals are completely goners. I've got a few roaches out. I know that there is the potential of a ground threat or even an air threat coming my way, because I saw the voidies. So how did I react to this? I reacted by putting down a Hydralisk den, which is the safe bet. So if I produce Hydralisk, I can attack both ground and air. I put down 1 spine crawler. Not 4 spine crawlers, just 1 spine crawler, because if I had put down 4 spine crawlers and then discovered he was massing an army of void rays, I would have been totally screwed. Right, so 1 spine crawler. The important thing here is do not overreact. Think calmly, act knowledgeably. Just work with what you know. Right, I've got a spine crawler up, I've got a second spine crawler up, I'm going to put out a queen any moment now, and I have 1 Hydralisk popping out. Not 5 Hydralisks, just 1, popping 1 out as the economy becomes available. And while that's happening, I'm also droning up a little at a time. See, a minute ago I had 5 drones, now I've got an entire row's worth of drones. So you can't abandon the drones either. So don't panic click, don't mass spam, 1 at a time. Match your drone count to your army count when you're rebuilding like this, and it works out fine. But also important to get some upgrades, because you're always going to be battling in this situation as the underdog. Fewer units against more units. So the harder you hit and the longer you survive, the better it will be. So I've not neglected my creep growth either. They continue to grow out in my downtime from clicking anything else, waiting for my economy to balance out. So far I'm trying to make a reasonable comeback here. In come the voidies. I've got 2 void rays heading my way. I just managed to pop out enough Hydralisks to get me started. The timing was absolutely impeccable on this one. And both of those voidies go around. My spore crawler disappears and he's immediately remade again. Right, while we take out the void rays. So that's gone as now. So I still don't know whether I'm expecting large amounts of air units or ground units. So I build back my 1 spore crawler to make sure that that is covered all around the base. Right, and I've still got the 1 spine crawler and a mix of 3 hydras and 4 roaches and 1 queen. That's it. I'm keeping up an equal production of drones and hydralisks along with upgrades that are relevant a little at a time. Now he's mass producing stalkers, so let's run ahead again a little bit in the game to when the battle starts to come our way. There's no money, no resources to do it. Right, and his saturation is just, oh, it's better than mine, but not by a lot, even though he's had quite a lot of time, because he's pummeled all of his money into stalkers and this 1 voidy. 3rd spine crawler going up to protect the base. Let's see how this goes. Now look at the strength of upgraded units. He has got about 50% more units than I have, and this is still warded off effectively because of the spine crawlers and the hydralisks doing their thing well. So spine crawler went down, immediately rebuild it. Now you see back here we're not panicking at all, we're still droning away in a reasonable manner. We've got just the 2 spore crawlers up because we've seen nothing come our way here, we don't need to panic. We have our next spine crawler, our replacement spine crawler going down again. And here comes another attempt. Taking a few pot shots, but so far we are holding our own. I'm sticking down a spore crawler here as well. 2 reasons for this. Useful if you have 1 solitary or a couple of solitary air units swinging by, and also useful if a stealth unit for some odd reason were to swing by. And so I do put spore crawlers at the front of my base, 1 at the front of my base in most games once it starts hitting the mid-level, because even if you're up against Terran, for example, this would be mighty useful to see an incoming ghost, for example. So let's see how this goes. He has now got a pylon up and he's warping in stalkers en masse. What do we got here? We have got almost 2 complete rows of stalkers. And what do we have in return? We've got barely 1 row of hydralisks, half a row of roaches, and some spine crawlers. And all the time droning up. Still keeping up with the drone count despite the fact that we're using them up for this. So you need to balance it out. Drones and units, never too much of either. And this balance is kind of tricky to do, but you'll know as it goes along how to do it, because in this particular case I actually balanced it out perfect. Now get a load of how this is going. I'm barely losing any units whatsoever. He's going down to half every so and so moments. And this is the way this is looking like it's going now. A new spine crawler goes up here. Now I'm starting to notice a few problems. Problem number one. I'm running out of mineral patch. Right, so what do I do at this point? And I can't continue to do this endlessly because he'll win eventually if I do that. Right, so let's see what's going on here. So I'm getting up a spire. The thinking here is that I will transition to Mutalisks or eventually Corruptor Broodlord combos. But yeah, that was the original assumption. Now here I made a bit of a mistake, because actually, had I looked at this properly, I would have seen that there's absolutely no way I was going to be transitioning to a mass muta build unless I got the expansion, which I couldn't do because I can't take these units outside of my base. They only work in line with the defenses that are coming out from these stationary defenses, because otherwise we would have been completely screwed. Now my 12-minute alarm went off here, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit, because I want to talk through the end game. Here we go again. Another Stalker attack. I'm still surviving. And look at the amount of carnage these upgraded units plus the spine crawlers are doing to that massive. That was almost an entire command group's worth of units there, and they got completely mauled. A completely useless shield happening there because all of these guys are ranged units. And the Stalker count has whittled down to nothing. This is an enormous amount of his resources that he's used up, and despite the fact that he's got a second base going, he hasn't had time to really amass a huge fortune. Because we were on even ground until he got this second base. Now I knew that I had to do something at this point, because I only have one base, I'm running out of minerals. I can't expand the second base. What on earth does one do in this situation? Right, so what one does is one transitions low tech. Right, I went into zergling mode, because at this point there was really no way that I was going to be able to make this game by transitioning to a higher tech, because I simply didn't have the resources to do it. So I started transitioning to lower tech instead. And the zerglings started coming out in groups. Now take a look at how this went. Because he'd focused on the ground army and had not invested in a massive air army due to a lapse of resources, mostly because we handled ourselves so well in the early game, he's actually limited to just pummeling out stalkers, which is great, because then I can use my lower tech units and go and wreak some havoc, which is exactly what I did here. Starting with taking out the warp gate, and then heading down to take out that expansion, which was absolutely essential, because if you look at the main expansion, there's absolutely nothing going on. There's no minerals, there's no resources, and there are no units. Right, so right now, let's see how this battle goes. Zerglings coming to swarm in. One muta, the one that I built, showed up as well. And then we've got Hydralisks coming in to back that up. Now while this is going on, my resource count is starting to grow, because I'm only producing Zerglings, which are exceedingly cheap units. So I produce my more and more Zerglings, and I motor them to this location. So they all come running down in phases. And the goal here is to get rid of this expansion, which is the only place where he's now gaining minerals, because since we've been playing pretty much in the same way, I simply assumed that since I was running out of minerals, and so was he. So there we go. Hydralisks doing their thing, a few Zealots coming in. Now this could have been a problem had I not kept my flow of Zerglings running, because these guys came in the nick of time. The Zealots hit hard, deceptively hard. I got another queen coming up over there in the main base, in the event that I'm wrong in my assumption and there is stuff going on here and I need to do more on the lava growth. But so far I've finally managed to turn this around. I've got more Zerglings coming in to finish this off. He's got no units, he's got no money, and he's got absolutely no production. And no resource gathering of any kind. So this was a complete turnaround based on instantaneous adaptation to what was going on, and this is the great thing that you can do as Zerg that is so difficult to do when you're any other kind of race. You see Unix GGing out of here now, and the game is won. And it just turned out to be an enormously fun game to play, so I thought I would share that with you. So you guys, if you have similar experiences of adaptation or other strategies that you've used, comment below and link. I would love to see them. Other than that, thank you for watching. More to come in the next couple of days. Bye bye.